formerly your Philadelphia Eagles, 9-year NFL veteran, Bachelorette superstar, of course. Clay Harbor joins the show. What's up, Clay?
What's up, Mark? Appreciate you having me on there, man. You could have just stopped at the, Philadelphia Eagles, 9-year NFL veteran. You had to throw in the Bachelorette part too, but I mean, I don't blame you. It's it's a big part too. But appreciate you having me on.
Of course. Just real quick, how did all that happen? Like, who suggested to you? Was it your agent? Who was it that said, "Hey, Clay, you should do the Bachelorette. Give it a shot"?
So this is in my my last season. I'm with the Saints, right? And I go through training camp. I play one game. I break my wrist and my toe in the same game. First game of the season, and the regular season. And I'm on IR all year. And one of my friends had tried out for the Bachelorette, but he didn't get on. And the casting lady randomly sees him in a bar again. It's like, "Hey, we know you didn't make it last year, but you should try out again." And he's like, "Well, I'm actually dating this girl now, which he's married to and has a kid with, so it turned out well." So he's like, "I really think this is going to be my wife, but I have a couple of buddies you might like." He's like, "Okay, show me some pictures." He started showing pictures. He's like, "Ooh, I like this guy. Who's this?" He's like, "Hey, well, this is my buddy Clay, but he plays football. But I don't know, like, hey, we'll work with him. We don't need him to like show up to do anything." So I started talking, and I talked to my agent about it. I'm like, what's the worst thing that could happen if I go on this show? Didn't have to do any of the casting stuff. Next thing you know is I show up, and I'm stepping out of a limo on the Bachelorette, and it was just a crazy, literally like a month and a half. Wasn't a big plan, and I actually ended up getting hurt on the show. I actually broke my wrist on the show playing football against a role model and a medical device salesman, and I'm over here usually playing on Sundays against these actual football players. So,
oh my God, oh, that's terrible. Oh, I did not know that. I am not a big fan of the show. I'm a big fan of you though, and you know that. So I'm sorry I missed that one, but I'm sorry that happened, my friend.
No, it's okay, man. It's okay.
No, so right now, obviously, retired, quote unquote.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Retired. Retired from the NFL, and I'm also retired from the Bachelor world. I did the Bachelorette and I did the Bachelor in Paradise. But I recently got my personal training certification. Almost done with my strength conditioning certification. Been doing some speaking engagements, working with brands and companies to promote, an advertising space, and then also looking to get into a little bit of the sports talk space. I love doing that. I've been working a lot with companies like NBC Chicago, have a podcast talking about Jaguars football, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I want to make sure people can see this. Make sure you guys check out Clay, obviously, on social media, especially Twitter. You see it right there. 9-year NFL veteran. Chicagoan, so you're still based in Chicago then, huh?
Yes, sir. In Chicago right now in beautiful West Loop. I mean, couldn't be a better day, about 39 degrees. The sun is not out. It's a little cold. It's a little windy, but, that's the Chicago life right now.
And what's the podcast? Where can we check out the podcast?
It's Believe in Jaguars. I have it linked on my Twitter, on my page, but we do an episode every Sunday, and I think we're going to start as we get closer to the season doing every Wednesday and Sunday. So it's a cool little podcast. If you're a Jaguars fan, I don't think most Eagles would waste their time with the Jaguars, but hey, Doug Pederson is now with the Jaguars. We got a little bit of a tie-in right there. The last Super Bowl we won, Doug Pederson, head coach of the Jaguars.
Of course. So what was your reaction to seeing Doug Pederson go to, obviously, Jacksonville?
I thought it was great, man. I played with Doug. Doug was my first year in Philly when I got drafted. He was the offensive quality control guy. My second and third year in Philly, he was the quarterback coach. Awesome guy. I love Doug. He was great to all the players. He was a good dude, funny guy. He was informative. You always saw him working with the quarterbacks. Back in my day, that was, Cobb, Kafka, Vick.
Wow.
And he's always just little things, showing them how to flip their hips, how to read defenses. I mean, this is a guy that played 15 years in the league, and then before he started coaching, so he knows this stuff. And I thought for the Jaguars, after playing for Eagles, I went to Jacksonville for 3 years there, and I thought it was good. We need to bring on Trevor Lawrence. He's got to improve, and I thought Doug Pederson would be a perfect person to do that since he knows so much about the position as far as coaching and playing it. So how's it getting better than that? This guy's and coached it, and he can take Trevor under his wing and really show him and tell him what he needs to do to be successful at the position.
What are your impressions of Nick Sirianni? I know you never played for the guy or anything like that, but when it comes to Nick Sirianni being the head coach here in Philadelphia after 1 year, what do you take away from him?
I have some buddies on the team still, and everybody seems to like Sirianni. Everybody says he's a good coach. The players like to play for him, and I know he was under a lot of heat being the season after that slow start. But hey, he persevered. They made a playoff run, and I think there were some holes in the team, and I think the team didn't underachieve. And if you're a coach and the team's underachieving, then that's one thing. But I feel like for the team that he had, I thought that the Eagles did pretty good last year. They made the playoffs. Obviously, you got stuck against Tom Brady, greatest quarterback of all time in the first round game. And obviously, we wanted that game to go a little different. I was pulling for the Birds. But I thought he did a pretty good job, man. I thought he did a lot with what he had. And I know you got a young quarterback in there. It was honestly like Jalen's first year. I know he had some other starts, 2 seasons ago, but I thought it was a good year. And this year will be really telling. You got a year under your belt for Jalen. He's going to have to improve, and Sirianni's going to have to improve too.
Certainly. I want to stay in your past for just a second, or go back to your past, because I saw this tweet, and I think this is the right one. Now, we'll get to that one in a second. This one here, I played for Chip Kelly, and I thought that was interesting, but I can only imagine the stories behind the scenes with Urban Meyer, which must have been very interesting. So first, what have you heard about Urban Meyer? Obviously not there in Jacksonville, as we just mentioned. Doug Pederson's there. And then also, your Chip Kelly's first year with the Eagles, did you get IR'd and then ended up in Jacksonville? How did that whole thing play out? And what were your takeaways from playing for Chip Kelly in the brief amount of time that you did?
Yeah, so to start with Urban, I've heard it's basically like it's like the French Revolution, man. It's reign of terror over there. Everybody's walking on eggshells. The guillotine waiting to be dropped on them. The players, the coaches. You don't want to look at Urban the wrong way, or you're worried about getting cut, getting your position taken. So it was a lot of fear. The dictator type coach. I like the coach that's the guy that's pulling for you. He wants to see everybody do well. He's on your side, not the guy that's like, hey, you do this, and if you don't do this my way, you're gone. So that's what I heard about Urban was that, and that's not the type of guy you want to play with, especially if you have a young team. You have a rookie quarterback. You don't want to bring him up being scared.
Right.
And obviously the stuff coming out with him, with the college girl kicking the kicker, berating guys, making them cry, just complete. It's like, wow, this guy's an ego trip. And then you hear that he doesn't know who Aaron Donald is, doesn't know who some of these crazy players are. It's wild. And Chip Kelly. I was with Chip. I was with Andy for 3 years, and then Chip Kelly came in. I was with them for the whole offseason training camp, and then I got cut, and the Jaguars were first in the waiver wire, so they picked me up. But I got so many Chip stories, but I'll try to keep it. I'll just tell one, and one of the reasons why I thought it was interesting playing with Chip. Number 2 tight end, me. I was number 2 tight end, me and Brent Selleck for 3 years. Chip comes in. He obviously drafts Zach Ertz. And obviously, Zach Ertz is Zach Ertz, great player. Signs James Casey, have Derek Carrier. He's still in the league, been playing for like 10, 12 years now. I go from being a 2 to being a 5, 6 in one day. And we're going out throughout practice. I'm not playing very much. And he comes up to me and he tells me he thinks I should play linebacker. And I'm like, whoa, like I'm not a rookie. I'm not a second-year guy. Third year, as my 4th season, he wants me to move to linebacker. So I moved to linebacker, and I'm over here trying to pass rush against Jason Peters in Lane Johnson. Okay, I've never played this position. I don't even know the basic terms. There's terms that are universal in this world of football and offense and defense. I didn't know the basic terms. So I go to Chip. I'm like, hey, I don't really want to play linebacker anymore. He thinks I should play. So then he says he has an open door policy. Nobody knows this story. So eventually I get to the point where I got to get cut or I got to get traded. So I go up to Chip's office after I'm talking to Brent Selleck I'm like, bro, like I can't be here anymore. I'm not playing linebacker. He's like, bro, go talk to him. I'm like, I'm going to talk to Chip and tell him to let me go or to trade me right now. So I go up to Chip's office, knock on the door. I'm like, hey, sit down in the chair, talking to Chip. Go, hey, Chip, I don't want to be a distraction, man. You guys got a lot of great tight ends here, and I think you're an amazing coach. I just don't want to be a distraction at all. But I think it's best if you guys just, release me, just cut me, I really don't want to play linebacker. Tight end, like you said, it's a pretty full room. So he starts going through the league. He goes, why do you think you can play tight end anywhere else? I'm like, what? And I'm like, and I've had my agent like kind of reach out feelers to other teams at this point. And like, dude, if Harbor's on the market, he'll compete for our second job tomorrow. So I know there's teams out there that kind of see me as a number 2, number 3 at worst tight end. I go, you
were a 4th round pick, no?
Yeah.
Okay. That's not like for a tight end, that's pretty good.
And I was top 40 PFF, Bleacher Report tight end for 3 seasons. I obviously didn't get a lot of targets, but, I performed, I blocked well, I played special teams. I knew I could play in the league. So then Chip's he's like, I'm not going to release you. Who's going to release a 4th-year player for no reason? And he goes, New England doesn't need a tight end. Kansas City doesn't need a tight end. He starts going through all the teams in the league, telling me why they're not going to pick me up. Goes through all these leagues and telling me, I think you need to go back and learn defense. You might be able to make the team here. I go, hey, I appreciate your opinion. My opinion is different. And I think that you should still release me. It's like, well, we're not going to release you. He's like, I'll move you back to tight end, but, you're probably not going to get any plays there, but I'm not going to release you. This is an OTAs. So I go back home. I shut off my phone. I skip the next 2 OTA practices. I go, what are they going to do? Are they going to cut me? Please, cut me. That's what I want you to do. Skip the next 2 practices. I finally come back in. All the coaches, Clay, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have skipped. You got to come and just compete. I go, guys, I'm not a linebacker. I want to play tight end. So now I'm back at tight end. And I'm playing in OTAs. And I'll go the whole practice. I'll do the individual drills. I'll go the whole practice. And then they'll try to throw me in the last period. I've been standing around for an hour and a half at this point. I am ice cold. The coach would be like, Clay, you're in. I go, no, I'm not going in. What are you talking about? I go, Coach, you haven't put me in for an hour and a half. If I go in right now and play full speed, I'm going to tear my hamstring. You're in right now, go. I go, no, I'm not going in. So this happens and training camp comes around, right? And still the same stuff. Then all of a sudden I have a good game against New England. He put me in against New England. I think they were trying to trade me to New England. New England came to town and he moved me to second tight end. I play in the game, and I have 3 catches for 80 yards, and I have a really good game. And that week of practice, practicing against him, he put me in, and I was just murdering. I was catching everything. I was blocking well. And so Chip calls me in his office. I'm like, hey, maybe he's going to release me finally or trade me or something. And he says, hey, we noticed you've been playing really well, and we want to find a way to keep you. So we're going to move you to wide receiver. Hey, wide receiver? Hey, we got Deshaun Jackson, Jeremy Maclin, Jason Avant. We had Riley Cooper at that time. We had some Damaris Johnson. We had some good players. But I'm like, okay, it's better than linebacker. Mm-hmm. So that's when I moved to wide receiver for all the training camp. And he's telling me to lose weight. We're going to keep you, lose weight. So I'm losing weight, thinking I'm going to stick on the roster. Then the very last cut of the year was me. And I'm 230 pounds. I ended up signing with Jacksonville that year. And to make the whole thing crazier, that year, our first game's against Kansas City Chiefs. Andy Reid's the Kansas City Chiefs. I go to Jacksonville for practice. Mercedes Lewis gets hurt. The first play of the season, I catch a 15-yard pass of the whole season for the Jacksonville Jaguars, signed here 4 days ago. I catch a 15-yard in route against Andy Reid. I look over the sideline. I said, that's my old coach. This coach last year, Tom Melvin, my tight end coach. I'm like, yeah, man, the NFL's crazy. First down. I'm a Jaguar now. But that's one of the reasons I don't like Chip. Guys like, hey, you're not going to play for anyone else. And I ended up lasting longer than he did. I lasted 8 years, and he lasted, 5? So thanks, Chip. And that's sorry, it took a little while, but it's my Chip Kelly story.
Well, so I have to ask you this because some people, in Philly were always like, do anything for the team. What was it that made you think I can't do linebacker? And for the record, you said you were willing to make the switch to wide receiver. You lost the weight. What was it about the linebacker spot that was like, I just can't do this?
So there's universal terms and fundamentals that you learn from your position throughout the years, right? Mm-hmm. And I think I could have been a damn good linebacker. I ran a 4.5. I had a 40-inch vertical. I jumped 10.5 broad jump. I had 30 reps from the bench press and the combine. Really athletic guy back in my day. Now I got about 10 reps at the bench. I have a 15-inch vertical, and but back in my day I was good. Mm-hmm. So at linebacker, there's just so many terms that are universal. I didn't know any of them. There's so many coverages that are universal. There's so many basic moves that I was running routes on defense, on offensive linemen, trying to get past them. Mm-hmm. And I was decent. I had decent moves and like the individual drills. People like, wow, this guy might be able to play. But then you put me on the field and they're making the calls and stuff. It was just too far along for me to try to switch my mindset completely from this offense to this defense. And it did help me as far as a tight end. When I went to Jackson, you start to realize, okay, these drops, these linebackers, they drop 10 yards. Mm-hmm. They're not supposed, their heels are at 10. They're not supposed to go deeper than 10. So now if I make sure I sell my vertical to 11, 12 yards, I'll curl behind these guys. They don't even know I'm there. Just little things like that I picked up, and like pass rush, how you're trying to like, okay, this guy's rushing. With stance, this guy's rushing for sure. He's pushing off his outside leg. And it really helped me become a better tight end. But at that point in my career, 4th season, at tight end, didn't feel like I could make the move to be effective.
Gotcha. Well, what's interesting? I'm reminded of Alejandro Villanueva, who Chip Kelly brought in to play, I think it was defensive end, a former Army Ranger. We all know the story of his background a lot. He goes on to become, a Pro Bowl tackle for the Steelers?
Offensive lineman.
Yeah, exactly.
The guys in Iraq, he's got like medals in Iraq. He's a Pro Bowler. Incredible story. They better make a movie about him.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and then, it's just another example of Chip Kelly being like, no, this guy's a D end. And then he goes to Pittsburgh, and they're like, what are you, crazy? This guy's a left tackle. And he ends up throwing bodies around now, with the Ravens, I believe. So that's another story of Chip not exactly knowing who should play where exactly. Yeah. But, Clay, I do want to ask you about this because I think you and I are in the same boat when it comes to Jalen Hurts. I saw this tweet from you earlier today, as a matter of fact, at the time we taped this, talking about critiques of Jalen Hurts. I've critiqued Jalen Hurts, but I want him to be the guy for at least one more year in Philadelphia. And we've talked about Deshaun Watson on this show. We've talked about Kenny Pickett on this show. Where are you on Jalen Hurts as far as what you'd like to see the Eagles do with him?
Jalen Hurts is such a polarizing guy. If you say something good about Jalen Hurts, like you're going to have fans coming after you. If you say something bad about Jalen Hurts, you're going to have some fans coming after you. He's so polarizing in the city, in Philly, and even in the league. There's so many different, ideas about Jalen Hurts that people have. Obviously, you saw Jaworski's comments. You see Dan Orlovsky's comments. Emmanuel Acho's comments about Hurts. A lot of them are similar. Like, hey, he's a decent quarterback, but in this league, is a decent quarterback going to win you a championship? Right. Here's my thoughts on Jalen Hurts. This kid is 23 years old. Think about that for a second. Most players are getting drafted at 23 years old. And people are criticizing him. He's not even fully developed yet as a player. He's 23, and has 16 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 87 rating. The guy's won games. He's brought his team to the playoffs. If you don't give this 23-year-old another season, 24, it's a disservice to your team and to him. This is a young player. He's got his whole career ahead of him. And you're telling me you wrote him off after his 23rd birthday, 23, 24? Young player. You look at these guys, you look at Pickett, you look at Malik. These guys are 23 as well, these rookies. They're the same age. And people are like, oh, we need to draft a new guy or maybe trade. Give Jalen Hurts a chance. He is young. He's 23. He showed some promise. He's going to improve exponentially, in my opinion. He's young. And after this experience, if he performs this year, just think what you have then. Now you have a 23, 24-year-old quarterback. It's going to be your franchise quarterback for the next 10 years. Mm-hmm.
So, needless to say, you wouldn't draft a quarterback with one of your 3 first-round picks? And if not, what would you do with the Eagles' 3 first-round picks in the upcoming draft?
Well, I think they need wide receiver help. And, I think they could use a linebacker as well. I love
do you want to jump back into the linebacker fray?
Yeah, I think I might make a comeback and start playing linebacker again, man. I don't know if I still got some of that tape from the Chip days. I could maybe show Sirianni, see if he'll put me in.
There you go.
I think linebacker. I like T.J. Edwards. I thought that they should have went after Miles Jack. Miles Jack likes to play the will. He can play the mic as well. But I think Edwards, they got a steal when they re-signed him for a couple of years. I think he's a really good instinctive player. I know he had a tough playoff game against the Bucs, but I think you need wide receiver help. I like Devonta, but I mean, what's going on after that?
Right.
I think we need a big receiver there. And I think maybe some more defensive help. But first, I go wide receiver and linebacker. Those are the first two immediate needs that I think you got to fill.
Awesome. What early, way too early predictions before the draft and all that. What do you think the Eagles do in terms of the new NFC East with Carson Wentz as the starting quarterback of the Washington Commanders, the Giants going through a big change in head coaching and all that stuff, as well as the Cowboys trying to make some moves as well. What do you think of the NFC East in the upcoming season?
It's interesting, man. I mean, Carson Wentz is the quarterback for the Commanders. Honestly, I mean, there's a lot of people that hate Carson Wentz, and they think that I don't think he had a bad year. I mean, if you look at his year, he had like 27 touchdowns, 6 picks. Obviously, he lost to the Jaguars, and didn't make the playoffs. People still come back to that. And he had, arguably the best running back in football, and he still couldn't win, with that. But I think that it's an improvement for the Commanders. I think he's better than Heineke, right? Mm-hmm. I think we can all say that he's better than Heineke. So I think it's improvement. And I know he's going to have a chip on his shoulder to come back to, to the link and play against the Eagles and really against the people that he wants to prove wrong. Mm-hmm. And as well, and then you got the Cowboys. Obviously, they lost Cooper. You got Dak. They signed a couple new guys, but I think they're going to be a tough team. But they never seem to, to win the big game. And then you got the Giants. Brian Dable taking over. You still got Daniel Jones. I don't see how, they're going to do anything, make a miraculous turnaround. In my opinion. So in my opinion, I think the Eagles really should be the favorite in the division this year. I mean, if you look at it, the Cowboys possibly, but I like the Eagles. And then you look at the draft. They got the 15th, 16th, and 19th pick. That's incredible. That's incredible. I mean, people say what you want about Howie, but they got a lot of picks. And, Howie's had some good drafts and some bad drafts, but I think wide receiver, maybe a inside linebacker presence. But I think they're in a good place. They're trending, and I'm excited to see what happens in this draft.
I do want to ask you, you ended up actually playing for the Patriots. You actually ended up playing for Bill Belichick and Tom Brady and all those guys, years later after you were done with the Jaguars. What were your takeaways from your experience in New England?
Just the discipline and the routines that they have. It was just different going from Jacksonville to New England. And looking back, I regretted it because I had the same offers from a few different teams, right? And New England, Jacksonville was the same offer. I had an offer from the 49ers, and I had an offer from the Patriots. So do I want to go to New England? And they just signed Martellus Bennett. They have Rob Gronkowski. They had Michael Williams, they had A.J. Derby. And it's like, hey, if you want to go there, that's a tough roster. Look at the top 53 there to the top 53 in Jacksonville. I'm like, hey, I don't care. In my eyes, I think I'm one of the best tight ends. If I'm in the right position, I go, hey, I'm one of the best guys in this league. I want to go to New England. I'm going to play with Tom Brady. I'm going to play with Bill Belichick, and I'm going to win a ring. I go there. I have some injury problems. I tear my adductor. I had to get bilateral adductor surgery during OTAs. Barely coming back in time for training camp. And in training camp, I'm like, dude, there's no way I ever make this roster. I only played the last 3 games, only got a few reps each game from being hurt. And they wanted me to stay on IR and just go on the PUP list, and just make the team. But I was like, dude, I want to come back. I want to play. And looking back, maybe I take time to get, 100%. Mm-hmm. Bags are packed. I'm ready to go in and talk to Belichick. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm looking at the cuts. We get the cuts when all the fans get the cuts. We don't get the cuts any earlier. And I'm just refreshing, I'm refreshing my computer. Okay, we went from 75 to 65. All right, went from 65 to 60. Oh, I didn't expect those guys to get cut because, as a player, you'll fill out who you think is going to make the 53.
All right.
60 to 57. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? 57 to 55. I'm like, okay, 55, 54. There's one cut left. It's either me or this guy. I'm like, this is tough. And they cut down. I'm like, I made the team. I don't believe it. I had my whole place packed up. Everything was ready to go. I'm thinking, okay, who's going to sign me? This team needs a tight end. This team needs a tight end. And I only lasted 5 games that year. And, got released, but it's a beautiful thing because in the NFL there's something called double dipping. If you're a vested veteran and you make opening day roster, you get that full salary for that year. So I got my full salary. The next day I signed with the Lions. I got the full salary with the Lions, made the playoff with the Lions, got the playoff check with the Lions, and Patriots won the Super Bowl. Because I played in at least 5 games, the rule in the CBA that if you play at least 5 games and your team makes it playoff, you get the whole playoff check.
What?
Every playoff check for the Patriots. I'm sitting here at a local sports bar in Chicago, drinking a beer, watching the Patriots win the Super Bowl, and people are like, dude, why are you pulling for the Patriots? I say, trust me. And they win the game, like, yeah.
Did you get a ring too?
Patriots, I had my agent call him and go, hey, this guy was on your team. Only team in the league that doesn't give a ring to anybody that doesn't actually play in the Super Bowl.
Really? So even people that are like on IR, but that have to play in the game.
You're not on the roster when they play.
Okay.
The Super Bowl.
Okay. Just making sure.
You could have played with the team all the way up until the playoffs, and if you weren't on the roster when they won the Super Bowl, they're not giving you a ring.
Wow.
So that was crazy. I was like, dude, I don't really want the ring, but I kind of do. It'd be cool to get the ring. But the difference was the discipline, the routine, and the habits of the Patriots, man. You see the way you went through practice, everybody is just accountability, and you expected to win. It was just the culture. You just knew you're going to win. You had to do your job, and everybody put in the time. Mm-hmm. It was a lot different than Jacksonville when I was there.
I'm sure you should get the Super Bowl ring, and I hope you held on to the bottle of beer or whatever you were drinking at the time, and just put it next to the ring and be like, I was drinking that beer when those guys won that ring.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It was a crazy time though, but it was cool, and I just wish I would have been healthy and had a chance to really stick around that whole season. Or then again, a part of me is like, man, maybe I stay in Jacksonville where I know I was going to make the team. The coaches loved me. The special teams coaches loved me. And I had a good thing going there. But, you can't look back. I took a shot, swing and a miss.
You mentioned, being able to block as a tight end, and you already had all that terminology down. My takeaway from your career in Philadelphia, like beyond any pass you caught or anything like that, Monday Night Football against Washington. I think it was the game Donovan McNabb had just signed his new contract with Washington.
Yeah.
Michael Vick bombed down the field to Deshaun Jackson, where he later turns around taunting the Washington team as he's running into the end zone. And you're holding the block on the outside to make sure nobody jacks up Michael Vick. I believe it was on the blind side of him. It would have been the front of him because he's a left-handed quarterback. Yeah. And you're holding the block on the outside as he completes that pass downfield to Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah, I lost sleep over that one when you get the plays before the day before in the hotel room. So Brian Arakpo that year was murdering people the last couple of years in the league in his heyday. You're watching him toss tackles. And I'm like, wait a second. I go, Marty Mordenman was our offensive coordinator. I'm like, Marty's putting me one-on-one against Arakpo. I'm like, this is great. First play of the game, we're going deep to Deshaun, and I have to block Arakpo one-on-one. I go, well, maybe he's not rushing. He probably rushed like 70% of the time. Like, he's definitely rushing. So I'm like, okay, I got to make this block because, there's this bad blood. Everybody's all hyped up. Everybody's a little tight. Energy, Monday Night Football. I'm like, all right, man. I told all my family and friends. There was a couple friends in the game, like, make sure you see the first play. And, I got the block done. It was I probably had a half a second to spare when I let him go. As far as the holding call, I was kind of holding a little bit. Well, we got the play out. Deshaun scores the touchdown. Fly, Eagles fly. Everybody's happy. And then my other favorite memory was Miracle in the Meadowlands Part 2, man. I was on that punt return team on the field, and we're like, hey, if they punt this to Deshaun, we got to hold our blocks because, he might take this shit back. Like, let's go. Hopefully they punt it to him. They punted it to him. And he took it back for a touchdown. Another fun memory. The locker room after that game, I remember going in there, Coach Reed, somebody dumps the water on him because that was the game to see who won the NFC East. And they dumped it on him, and everyone got quiet. They thought he looked pissed. Then he grabs the water bottle, the jug, and he throws it. It goes through the ceiling. It's like these little ceilings that, like the tiles up there.
Right.
Back down with half the ceiling. Everybody just starts jumping up and down. Yeah, let's go. It was insane. That was an insane locker room.
Oh, that's nuts. Now, that season, I remember it ended with Michael Vick going to Riley Cooper in the end zone against the Packers. It ended up not working out. that's one of those seasons that Michael Vick's having like an MVP year almost. You're feeling great about everything, and then just came up short. What was that season like? Do you go back to that season at all? But that team, really trying to do something special. What do you think about when you think about that season?
I think if we win that game, we win the Super Bowl, because you look at the Green Bay Packers won the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah,
we took them down. We lost by 4 or 5 points. We had them on the heels. We score that touchdown. If we come down with that ball, we win. I'm not. Maybe we don't. I mean, we're going to the NFC Championship game. Our team was so explosive. LaShawn McCoy in his prime, Macklin, Deshaun in their prime. I mean, we had a good defense. We had Avant on the slot. Vick was just playing such good ball. Nobody really had a chance to game plan him yet because he came in early in that season when Cobb went down. So I mean, it was just we felt like it was a team of destiny, and that was a really disappointing year for us. And the next year was obviously the dream team year.
Yeah,
with,
right.
Vince Young, Nnamdi Asama, Dominic Rogers-Cromartie came in the dream team year. We went 8-8, barely missed the playoffs that season. And the following year was the year Coach Reed got fired. We went 4-12 or 5-11. Tough season there. We just had a ton of injuries. And but going back to that first year, man, that really felt like it was something special that got cut short.
Clay, it's been a absolute blast catching up with you, man. I referenced it. I think I referenced it earlier in the show, but we met at Vesuvio Bar. It's not there anymore in South Philly, owned by a friend of mine, Jerry Diodesi's great guy.
Yes.
And Ruben Frank asked me to come on as a co-host to this bar event show. You were one of our guests. You were a great guest. I remember the people at the bar loved meeting you. It was just a blast, and that's where I started to get to know you, and it's great to catch up with you again. Let's get to know you a little bit further. Do you want to play Fast Five, my friend?
Let's do Fast Five. Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Bring in the band, ladies and gentlemen, for Fast Five with Clay Harbor. Here we go. Tell the band to quiet down a little bit here. Best job before your NFL job. Best job before your NFL job.
I was delivering pizzas at my aunt's restaurant, a small pizza place, and I would always drive around for an extra 5-10 minutes after I delivered the pizza, listen to some music. So that was fun.
Just killing time, baby. Just killing time. Go-to. I know you're a personal trainer now. You've said that, but what is your go-to fast food place? What is your cheat meal, if you will?
I don't have cheat meals, Mark. There's no days off. No, but if I had a cheat meal, honestly, I really don't like fast food, man. I like Chick-fil-A, but fast food, I would say Chipotle. I like Chipotle.
Those are the heavy hitters, Chipotle and Chick-fil-A. First date deal breaker, Bachelorette, Bachelor Paradise, whatever. What is a first date deal breaker for you?
If like smoked cigarettes, man. I grew up and my mom and my aunts and my grandma and my whole family smoked cigarettes. I used to hate it. I'd go to school, smell like an ashtray. People be like, dude, did you just smoke a pack of cigarettes before? I'm like, no, man, my mom smokes. I hate it. So if she smokes, I'm sorry. You might be a nice girl, but I can't do it.
I can't. It's been a while. Well, yeah, I mean, I've obviously been married, but yeah, I can't remember a girl that I dated that smoked often. Anyway, favorite city to travel to?
Favorite city to travel to, I would have to say, Philadelphia, man. I love coming back to Philly, the city of brotherly love. I always love coming back. It's just good memories. It's where I got drafted. I was 22, 23, 24 in this city. Had a ton of fun with a ton of like my old roommate, like Kirk Coleman, hanging out with Selleck and those guys. And man, that was a good time in that city, man. I love Philly, and it's always good coming back and visiting down there.
Fantastic. And then finally, what makes Clay Harbor beep his horn in traffic?
Oh, if you you got all these kids these days who are on their phone, the red light turns green, and they're just sitting there on Instagram for an extra 10 seconds on beeping. If you're in the fast lane and you're driving below the speed limit, I'm probably going to give you a little honk. If you're one of those dudes swerving in and out of traffic trying to cut somebody off, man, we're all going to get there. I might get a honk there. So actually, a lot makes me honk. People say I have a little bit of road rage. I don't think so, but I've been told that before.
Well, I will say you have the longest list of anyone we've talked to so far.
My dad's a chauffeur. He's been driving for years, so I picked it all up from him. Driving the car with chauffeur Jeff, taxi driver, limo driver now. I'm in the front seat with them, just taking all this in, growing up. And, this guy's a professional driver. Doesn't realize that everybody's not on the road for, 12 hours a day.
Is the Midwest honk? Is it like the Midwest nice, like the passive aggressive type of thing?
Chicago's a little bit different, but most people in the Midwest are nicer. Chicago's got a little bit of that city vibe. It's got a little bit of that East Coast feel.
Gotcha.
But the rest of the Midwest is more chill.
Gotcha. Good enough. Clay Harbor, man, great catching up with you. I mean that in all sincerity. Great stories about Chip Kelly and obviously a breakdown of Nick Sirianni and all that. Continued success to you, my friend, with everything that you're doing, your podcast, everything. Make sure you guys are checking out Clay Harbor on all social media platforms, including on Twitter, where you guys can follow all the great things that Clay is doing and getting people in shape without eating fast food, which is just a foreign concept to me. Clay, great catching up with you, my friend.
All right, good talking to you, Mark.
Absolutely. Clay Harbor joining us on the Rothman Orthopedics guest line.